What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk about sprint out times in Black Ops Cold War, and I wanted to share a little trick with you guys to help you eliminate sprint out time in this game, which can definitely be really helpful for some setups as well as for certain challenges that you might want to be completing. But first up, I do want to explain exactly what sprint out time is, because people are often asking about it, and a lot of people have misconceptions about what sprint out time actually means. Now, in-game, sprint out is referred to as sprint to fire. It's the exact same thing, sprint out, sprint to fire. But essentially what this means is when you're sprinting and you pull the trigger to fire your gun as you're sprinting, it's the amount of delay between when you pull that trigger and when the gun actually goes off. It has nothing to do with your aim down sight time. A lot of people think sprint out time means sprint to aim down sight time, but that isn't quite accurate. Sprint out time is your sprint to fire time. So, now that we have that out of the way, there's a perk that I wanted to talk about here, which is Gung Ho. And in the past with Gung Ho, in some games it reduces your sprint out time or eliminates your sprint out time. In other games it doesn't. It seems like they handle it different pretty much every year with Call of Duty. And the reason I wanted to bring it up in today's video is a lot of people still don't realize that Gung Ho in this game doesn't affect your sprint out time. Now, it does allow you to fire while sprinting, which is interesting, and you might be thinking, how does that work? If you can fire while sprinting, then how does it not eliminate your sprint out time? Well, it's quite simple. If you're sprinting while using Gung Ho and not firing your gun, when you pull the trigger to fire your gun, you still have the sprint out delay that you have to wait for before the gun actually goes off. But the difference with Gung Ho is you continue sprinting as you're firing your gun, whereas without Gung Ho, the moment you pull that trigger, you will stop sprinting. So that's a really big key point that I wanted to point out in this video. In Black Ops Cold War, Gung Ho doesn't change your sprint out time at all. However, this is where I wanted to get into the little trick that I've got for you guys today, and this is a way that you can literally eliminate your sprint out time in this game. So when you pull the trigger as you're sprinting, the gun will go off immediately. And this is something some of you guys may have seen before. It's not exactly a brand new thing that I just discovered. It's been floating around in the community for a little while now. But with this, all you have to do is have a piece of equipment in your hand. So if you have like a tomahawk, for instance, or a Semtex grenade, pull it out as if you're going to throw it, but don't actually throw it. Just hold it in your hand. And then if you're using Gung Ho, you can start sprinting around. If you aren't using Gung Ho, you can't sprint while doing this, so it's kind of useless. But if you pair this with the Gung Ho perk, you can sprint around with that in your hand. Obviously, this doesn't work for frag grenades because they will just explode in your hand. And you can sprint around the map, and then when you pull the trigger, don't let go of your equipment, and your sprint out time will be instant. Now, this can be a really cool tactic for certain situations and certain setups. However, there is a big trade-off here, and that is you can't get aim down sight really quickly by using this method. You have to either throw that piece of equipment first, or you have to press the button that cancels it, which is triangle on PlayStation, for instance, and then you'll be able to aim down sight. So it is a really sort of specialized trick, and it's not something I'm going to be using all the time, but if I'm going for specific challenges, then yes, I'm going to be using this. And the really big one here that actually helped me out a lot as I was grinding for camos was on the RPG. When you're using launchers, they have a really high sprint out time. So if you're sprinting around the map and then you run into an enemy player and you want to fire that rocket, there's going to be a massive delay before the rocket goes off, and in many situations, you're going to be dead before you can even fire it. When you use this trick, as you're sprinting around the map, you just have to pull the trigger and boom, the rocket goes off like instantly. And this helped a ton with the launcher camos for me. Additionally, this can be used really effectively with LMG builds that are designed for hip firing. So if you maximize an LMG for hip fire, you can run around the map like crazy using Gung Ho and this little trick, and you can be hip firing people really quickly because without using this trick, the sprint out time on LMGs is very, very slow. And yeah, those are really the two biggest uses for this sprint out trick. It would be with something that sprints out really slow. I wouldn't do this trick with like an SMG, for instance, because even though they have a sprint out time, it's not so painfully long that it's worth completely going out of your way to cancel that sprint out time. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this little trick useful. Like I said, I know I'm not the first one to cover this. It has been floating around in the community for a little while, but I haven't really had any time to squeeze it into my schedule until just now. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.